Hey everybody, it is time for the May book haul. We are not going to go over the ebooks this month with one exception, and I'll get to that in a minute just because I just get so many of them. And a lot of them are ones I pick up because they're, free or cheap, and I know that I will want to get to it eventually, but yeah, that just took too long last time. So what was the exception that I'm going to get into? It does actually happen. I know I didn't think it happened either, but I did. I did win a Goodreads giveaway. And it was an ebook, but I'm not going to complain because it's a book that I wanted to read anyhow. That's right, Written on the Dark, Guy Gavriel Kay. For the first time in my life while I've been doing this, I did not get the dreaded, well, you did not win this time email. I actually got the you won a free Kindle book email. Thank you to Goodreads out there. I can promise they actually do give stuff away. Not very often. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't win very often, but I also know that I've looked a few times and there's 10 books to be given away and I'm like one of 7,000 people that has entered. So yeah, percentages are not good, let's face that, but a free book is a free book. And I've been waiting to read this one for a while. So, again, shout out to Goodreads for that giveaway, and I can't wait to knock out that one. But yeah, there's lots more to get into, so let's get into it. Audiobooks. What did I pick up from Libro last month? Because let's face it, that's where I get almost all my books from. First and foremost, I picked up Back Roads and Better Angels, A Journey into the Heart of American Democracy by Francis Berry. Real quick. A year into his marriage and having never driven an RV, Frank and his wife Laurel sent out from New York City and Winnebago to drive the nation's first transcontinental route, the Lincoln Highway, which zigzags through small towns and big cities from Times Square to San Francisco. Using the spirit of Abraham Lincoln to guide them across the land, they hope to see more clearly what holds this country together and how we can keep it together even amidst political divisions that have grown increasingly rancorous, bitter, and exhausting. Rancorous? Rancorous. One of those. Along the way, Frank and Laurel meet Americans whose personal experiences help humanize the nation's divisions, and they encounter historical figures and events whose legacies are still shaping our sense of national identity and the struggles over it. Not my usual cup of tea, but this one sounded interesting, and I did snag that one while it was available. Number 2, I picked up The Good Daughter by Kumi Taguchi. Growing up, Kumi Taguchi thought her father was merely distant, reserved, obsessively frugal, and, after her parents' divorce, almost entirely missing. When he died, Kumi's feelings about him and the Japanese heritage he had given her remained tangled. But just because a parent has gone doesn't mean they're absent. Over time, Kumi came to understand more about what made her father as he was, including his experience as a child in wartime Japan, and above all, the culture she both loved and felt burdened by. She decided to travel to Japan to find this family home, and perhaps lay to rest some ghosts. Again, another one that I sounded really, really good. Wanted to pick this one up. This one is a memoir, and I already closed it. I can't remember if the last one was nonfiction as well. I do have another nonfiction one here. I know I don't do a lot of nonfiction, but I'm trying to change that. I picked up Spitfires by Becky Aikman. Real quick one. They were crop dusters and debutantes, college girls and performers in flying circuses, all of them trained as pilots. Because they were women, they were denied the opportunity to fly for their country when the U.S. entered the Second World War. But Great Britain, desperately fighting for survival, would let anyone, even Americans, even women, transport warplanes. Thus, 25 daring young aviators bolted for England in 1942, becoming the first American women to command military aircraft. Definitely want to check that one out. It is on the list. I will get to it eventually. All right. I know I went overboard. Frog, The Secret Diary of a Paramedic by Sally Good. Could be gold. Gould. Good as in could? I don't know. Sorry, Sally, if I butchered your name. Frog is a term of endearment for intensive care paramedics, derives from the notion that everything they touch croaks. Just had to put that in there. Life as a paramedic, writes Sally Good in this candid, witty memoir, can be traumatic, gross, dull, hilarious, magical. To make the cut, you need to be able to think outside the square, keep calm in the midst of chaos, be in possession of a strong stomach, and simply brush it off when patients die. That's on top of having a profound understanding of the human body plus the skills to counter its failings. It also helps to have a highly developed and oftentimes dark sense of humor. Not going to get too much into these. Some of these are a little long, and we will be here all day if I read the entire thing. But, I'm married to a nurse, so I want to check that one out as well. I'm trying to behave here. I know this shakes a little when I bump the table, and I'm using the mouse, so hopefully there's not a lot of jiggle going on. All right. I told you, I went overboard. The Sailing of the Intrepid, the incredible wartime voyage of the Navy's iconic aircraft carrier by Montel Williams and David Fisher. Another one that I wanted to check out. Again, I did go overboard on the nonfiction, but only in the audiobooks. 1944, the USS Intrepid set sail on its first combat voyage, only to be struck by a Japanese torpedo plane jamming its rudder at a 45-degree angle. It could only sail in circles amid treacherous waters. The task force abandoned ship as it tried to make the 3,300-mile voyage to Pearl Harbor. For a day, the captain was able to slalom, alternating use of the ship's engines, but the seas became too perilous until one resilient crewman came up with the ingenious idea of rigging a 28-inch high sail on the second deck to steer the ship home safely. Incredibly, the makeshift sail proved to be their ticket to the shorelines. Who doesn't want to read about that story? Okay, I'm just saying. What else we got? Oh, we got the fact that I opened it twice. Let's close that one. Another nonfiction. I promise I'll be getting to the stuff you guys like in a minute. Proto, How One Ancient Language Went Global by Laura Spinney. I have always been a fan of languages, even though I'm only fluent in English, dabbable in Spanish, and recognize a couple of Japanese words, but I still love them. All right. The enthralling story of how today's largest language family, spoken by nearly half the world's population, descended from one ancient dialect. Daughter, duitar, duster, dukte. Listen to these English, Sanskrit, Armenian, and Lithuanian words, at least one of which I pronounced correctly, all meaning the same thing, and you hear echoes of one of history's most unlikely journeys. All four languages, along with hundreds of others from French and Gaelic to Persian and Polish, trace their origins to an ancient tongue spoken as the last ice age receded. This language, which we call Proto-Indo-European, was born between Europe and Asia and exploded out of its cradle, fragmenting as it spread east and west. Its last speaker died thousands of years ago, yet Proto-Indo-European lives on in its myriad linguistic offspring and in some of our best-loved works of literation, including Dante's Inferno and the Red Vita, The Lord of the Rings, and the love poetry of Rumi. How did this happen? Okay, checking that out. Okay, we're getting to the fiction. I know I went a little overboard, but the fiction is coming. This one I've actually started. The Labyrinth House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, which I still hope I'm pronouncing correctly. This one, oh my goodness. I probably will be doing a review for this one. I still don't know how I feel about it. It's definitely different. It's definitely a type of book that I hadn't read before. I've read mysteries, but this one, I'm not giving anything away. I'll tell you the synopsis. So Miyagi Yotaro is one of Japan's most famous mystery writers, but several years ago he put down his pen and left the Tokyo literary world for a life of seclusion in the remote Labyrinth House, built by the notorious architect Nakamura Seiji. When four of the country's most exciting up-and-coming crime writers invited to the house for Yotaro's birthday party, they are honored to accept, but no sooner have they arrived than they are confronted with a shocking death, then lured into a bizarre, deadly competition with each other. There's more to say on this one. I am not telling you what it is, though. Just wanted to put that out there. This book is very, very interesting. I am enjoying it. It's translated from the Japanese, so I feel sometimes the language is a little bit different than what I'm used to, but I'm not complaining. I'll just edit this part out later. What's up? All right, that brings us to The Missing Half by Ashley Flowers. Nick Monroe is in a rut. At 24, she lives alone in a dinky apartment in her hometown of Mishawaka, Indiana. I may have butchered that. She's just gotten a DWI and she works the same dead-end job she's been working since high school, a job she only has because her boss is a family friend and feels sorry for her. Everyone has felt sorry for her for the last 7 years, since the day her older sister Casey vanished without a trace. On the night Casey went missing, her car was found over 100 miles from home. The driver's door was open and her purse was untouched in the seat next to it. The only real clue in her disappearance was Jules Connor, another young woman from the same area who disappeared the same way 2 weeks earlier. But with so little for police to go on, both cases eventually went cold. Nick wants nothing more than to move on from her sister's disappearance and the state it's left her in. But then one day, Jules' sister Jenna Connor walks into Nick's life and offers her something she hasn't felt in a long time: hope. What follows is a gripping tale of two sisters who will do anything to find their missing halves, even if it means destroying everything they'd ever known. That one sounds like a banger. Can't wait to check that one out. All right. I got 2 more audiobooks and then we'll get into the physical stuff. The Starving Saints, a novel by Caitlin Starling. Aymar Castle has been under siege for 6 months. Food is running low and there's been no sign of rescue, but just as the survivors consider deliberately thinning their number, wow, that sounds dark, the castle stores are replenished. The sick are healed, and the divine figures of the Constant Lady and her saints have arrived, despite the barricaded gates, offering succor in return for adoration. Soon the entire castle is under the sway of their saviors, partaking in intoxicating feasts of terrible origin. The war hero Servoin gives her allegiance to the Constant Lady. Phosine, don't guarantee I pronounced that correctly, a disorganized, paranoid, nun-turned-sorceress. How can you not want to read that? Races to unravel the mystery of these new visitors and exonerate her experiments as their source. And in the bowels of the castle, a serving girl, Trela, is torn between her thirst for a secret vengeance against Voin and the desperate need to escape from the horrors that are unfolding within Aymar's walls. Definitely checking that one out. Just haven't gotten to it yet. And lastly, on the audiobook front, I picked up Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker. Cora Zhang is a crime scene cleaner washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown, but none of that seems so terrible when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible: her sister Delilah being pushed in front of a train. Before fleeing the scene, the murderer shouted 2 words: Bat Eater. I don't know what that means either. I'm just telling you what it says. So the bloody messes don't really bother Cora. She's more bothered by the germs on the subway railing, the bare hands of a stranger, the hidden viruses in every corner, and the bite marks on her coffee table. Yeah, you can already see why I'm interested in this book. Of course, ever since Delilah was killed in front of her, Cora can't be sure what's real and what's in her head. She pushes away all feelings and ignores the advice of her aunt to prepare the Hungry Ghost Festival when the gates of hell open, but she can't ignore the dread in her stomach as she keeps finding bat carcasses at crime scenes, or the scary fact that all of her recent cleanups have been the bodies of East Asian women. As Cora will soon learn, you just can't ignore hungry ghosts. So yeah, those were all mostly advanced listening copies that I got from Libro last month. Again, I've only touched base on one of them so far because I've been busy reading real stuff. But then I've got a few real physical books that I want to go over. First of all, shout out to, and I want to make sure I give a shout out to the right company here. I believe this was Tor.com for sending me Daedalus is Dead by Seamus Sullivan. This is a debut novel. Don't have necessarily a good... Okay, here we go. Daedalus of Crete is many things, the greatest architect in the world, the constructor of the labyrinth that imprisoned the Minotaur. Hey, that goes back to my Labyrinth House book. Off topic. And the grieving father of Icarus plunged into the sea as father and son flew from the grasp of the tyrannical King Minos. Now that Daedalus is dead, he seeks to reunite with Icarus in the underworld. Daedalus will confront any terror to see his son again, whether it will be the vengeful spirit of Minos, the cunning queen Persephone, or even the insatiable ghost of the Minotaur. But a shocking realization falls in his wake as Daedalus encounters the souls from his past. He begins to worry that his identity as a husband and father, mentor and friend was all a lie, and that the truth stalking him in the labyrinth of his own heart might be too monstrous for him to bear. So, Daedalus is Dead, that is coming out from Sean Sullivan. That is his debut novel. And let me make sure I tell you the right date. He is actually joining me for a conversation. I don't know why my computer is going so slow all of a sudden. September 29th, it is going to be pre-recorded, but September 29th at 7 o'clock is when that drops, which I believe is right before the book comes out. So I've got plenty of time to read that one. I'm not probably getting to that one right away, but it's coming. Also, I know another nonfiction book snuck its way in here. This was sent to me by, oh my goodness, who's the publisher? Avid Readers Press. Funny note, I'd actually reached out to them when this book was coming out. No, I'm not a huge Patriots fan, but a good coach is a good coach. And when this came out, I reached out to them. Wanted to see if Bill might be interested in coming on. I probably reached out too late. He's already busy. It happens. But they kindly sent me the book in hardcover, even though he's not coming on. So there was really no reason to do that. But I appreciate that. I will get that read at some point. I will be doing a review on it. I just like to let you know when these are sent out. Also, I got a copy of My Ex, the Antichrist. This book is coming out in July. Coming out by Craig DeLue. This was sent to me. Run for It. Sorry, I just love that title. I believe this is part of Tor. It says Run for It on the cover. But I believe that is another one of the Macmillan. Don't quote me on that. I'm 99% sure. I'm going to feel bad if I give credit to the wrong person, but I'm pretty sure this is underneath Macmillan. What do we got? 1998, Lily Lawler and Drake Morgan form a punk band. Drake inspires faith in some, fear in others. Lily is a believer. 1999, a battle of the band ends in a shocking death in a riot that claims the lives of 9 teenagers. 2010, at the height of her stardom, Lily walks into a police station and confesses to murder. Now, the band has refused to talk to the press about the night of the riot, Lily's confession, or anything else. It's been over a decade, but Lily has finally agreed to an interview and the band is following her lead. What follows is a story of prophecy, death, and apocalypse, a story about love and love lost, a story about the Antichrist. Maybe it's all true, maybe none of it is. Either way, this is their story, and they're sticking to it. So, My Ex, the Antichrist, that one is coming out next month. Yeah, I'll be sorry, I'm posting this early. So yes, that'll be coming out next month in July. I'm going to be checking that one out. Another fun one. Pick this up. I shouldn't say pick this up. This was also sent to me by Tor. Is this part of Nightfire? So yeah. So Tor Nightfire. I believe that is also one of their horror imprints. Don't quote me on that. But The Library at Hellbore, Cassandra Khaw. Khaw. I'm pretty sure it's Khaw. I mean, it feels like it should be Khaw. She can yell at me later if I'm wrong, because I'm also planning to have Cassandra on. She's going to be on July 21st. That one's also going to be pre-recorded, but July 21st, 7 o'clock. A deeply dark academia novel. The Hellbore Technical Institute for the Gifted is the premier academy for the dangerously powerful, the Antichrists and Ragnaroks, the World Eaters and Apocalypse Makers. It's like the X-Men on steroids. Hellbore promises redemption, acceptance, and a normal life after graduation. At least that's what Alessa Lee is told after she's kidnapped and forcibly enrolled. But the Institute is more than just a haven for monsters, and graduation day, the faculty embark on a ravenous rampage, feasting on their students. Well, that just seems wrong. Trapped in the school's cavernous, I was getting ready to say carnivorous. Cavernous is the word. Library. Alessa and her surviving classmates must do something they were never taught. Work together. If not, the school will eat them alive. Not a very super thick book, too, which is probably also going to make it a nice little palate cleanser. Yeah, coming in at less than 300 pages, so this should be an easy one. Again, thanks to Tor. You know I love Tor. Those guys always make my life so simple. Love those guys. But yeah, we're going to be talking to Cassandra as well. A book I bought. Yes, I spent real hard money on this book. Shout out to, and I know I make fun of him on the channel all the time. He probably doesn't know this. I doubt he's watching me. James Patterson. I was watching it wasn't an interview. It was a video post that he put up, I believe, on his Substack channel a little while ago. And he talked about this book, and it's one of his favorite books of all time. So I just decided I wanted to check this out. I know it's listed as a classic. I simply have not read it yet. It is called 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Picked that up at the Bookworm, local bookstore, because I do love sending them some money once in a while. This one, no, the inside thing basically talks about the book, not the actual stuff of the book. So I apologize. I don't have a good synopsis. I will just read this first paragraph here. In 1967, 100 Years of Solitude launched Gabriel Garcia Marquez to international fame and cemented his reputation as a literary legend. A central figure in the Latin American boom, Garcia Marquez was the most celebrated practitioner of the literary style that has become known as magic realism. And in 1982, he received the most prestigious literary award, the Nobel Prize in Literature. So, I know this one is on a lot of people's list that you should read this, and basically James Patterson finally talked me into it, so I picked that up. All right. Got one more book that I actually purchased, and then I've got one more book that was sent to me. So this one, Keyhole Books. If you're a book nerd, you know which book I'm about to talk about. At least if you're a BookTube book nerd. Because y'all know what book this is. J.A.J. Minton, also known as Talking Story over on BookTube, came out with The Strange Eons, Book 1, Discovery. Yes, I did pick that up. Because I love those guys. Signed. Give you a brief synopsis. If you want the signed copy, I believe you have to wait to see if they do another thing for it. All the pre-orders were signed, but the book is available now. You can get it. This was from the pre-order. In 1992, at the dawn of the age of technology, disgraced ex-game show host Manny DiMartini schemes for a comeback with a deep-sea television special in the South Pacific. What could possibly go wrong? He quickly finds himself in over his head, attracting the attention of a cosmic being who will lead him to a television broadcast event much bigger than the entire planet bargained for. Evidence of a slumbering alien in a ruined city at the bottom of the ocean. One look at the monster on TV, and humans collectively freak out. All right. You're going to notice I had a small clip there. That's because I sneezed. Y'all didn't need to see that. But J.J. Minton, Talking Story, Jacob, Amy, and John. Can't wait to crack the spine on this one. Absolutely looking forward to it. But as they know, my schedule is ridiculous right now. This is going to be sneaking into my physical TBR, though, really, really, really soon. And then lastly, shout out to Tor again, Tor Nightfire. Everybody's favorite alternative name, Myra Grant. Shauna McGuire, we all know it's you. Myra Grant. Overgrowth coming out. I'd reached out to them a while ago about this one. They were kind enough to send me this copy because this one sounds so up my alley. Since she was 3 years old, Anastasia Miller has been telling anyone who would listen that she's an alien disguised as a human being and that the armada that left her on Earth is coming for her. Since she was 3 years old, no one has listened to her. Now, with an alien signal from the stars being broadcast around the world, humanity is finally starting to realize that we've already been warned, and it may be too late. The invasion is coming, Stasia's biological family is on the way to bring her home, and very few family reunions are willing to cross the gulf of space for just one misplaced child. What happens when you know what's coming and just refuse to listen? Y'all know I love Shonen, one of my favorite authors. Could not wait to sink my teeth into this one. And that's it. That is my. Yeah, there's a few ebooks and stuff like there that I probably picked up over the time, but that is my physical haul. That is my Goodreads giveaway win. It does exist. And of course, all of my audiobooks, advanced listening copies. Shout out to Libra.fm. No, they're not sponsoring it, but I love those guys. Remember, if you do get your audiobooks, if you go through Libro, a little piece of the pie, every sale that you make, whichever bookstore you designate, a physical mom and pop bookstore in your area or somewhere else if you want to. I use the Bookworm, but also I grew up in Arizona, so I could pick the Poison Pen out in Scottsdale. Any of those guys, you pick, and they get a little piece of the pie. So I love that about them. I love the fact that you are supporting your local indies by using Libro instead of the other capital A audio plays. That is it. I got a lot to read, so I'm going to shut up now and get back to it. Hope you guys see something that you also liked. Hope you have some 5-star reads, and I will catch you later.